Hi guys, my name is Mayura and I am a nurse, and so I have been running an Instagram page for the last year and a half and posting different content for pre-nursing students and nursing students, as well as like graduate students and nurses. So I wanted to start bringing my content to YouTube just so I can have these videos up for years to come and for people to be able to always come back and refer to them. So if this is your first time ever encountering me, my name is Mayura. I think I already said that, but I graduated with my BSN in 2017, and I currently am back in school getting my master's degree in nursing. So I will be graduating next year as a pediatric nurse practitioner, and I'm really excited about that. I've been working in the NICU for the last 3 years, and so all my nursing experience lies in the NICU, and I absolutely love working with the babies in the NICU, and I don't think I would ever switch my specialty while I'm a bedside nurse because I absolutely love working there. So today, my first ever YouTube video, I want to talk about my top 10 tips to get into nursing school, because I know I get a lot of DMs about ways that people can apply to nursing school and what they can do to make their applications stand out. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm gonna just grab my iPad that has all my notes and my top 10 tips. So I'm gonna start with my first tip. So my first tip is to make sure that you look over all of your prerequisites before you apply. And you really want to start looking at it at least a year before, because there may be classes that you need to take that you don't know about. Some nursing schools require like a CNA license, so make sure you really look at those at least a year in advance. That would be my number one tip that you want to do. My second tip would be to start studying for that TEAS test that you need to take. I know some nursing schools take the HESI, H-E-S-I, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the one that I had to take was the TEAS. And how I prepared for that was I got like a review book from Barnes & Noble's, and I only studied for about a month, but I studied every single day. I did a lot of practice questions, just did the review book, and I think I scored really well on it. The material's not very hard. It reminds me of like, it's like an ACT, but I think it's a lot easier. Like the math is very basic. It's like high school math / middle school, science, reading and writing. The science part can be a little harder, so if you struggle with that, definitely prepare at least a month before. You can also, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You can also make sure you do those practice questions if you have testing anxiety or you just struggle with test taking strategies and things like that. It's a good way to practice for that. My third tip would be to start to figure out who you want for recommendation letters, because this is a huge issue, and sometimes like people leave that to the last minute just because they're scared to ask somebody to write them a recommendation letter and things like that. But personally, I would say it doesn't have to just be like an instructor. It can literally be like if you were on a sports team, if you have like a captain, or if you were a captain, then ask your coach to write you a letter. If you were part of like a dance company, or if you were like part of an organization, have like the president or other board member write you a recommendation letter, because they want to see who you really are and they want to make sure that you're a good fit for their nursing program. So make sure to get recommendation letters from people that really truly know you, and that's why it's important to start figuring those out. Like if you're doing research in the lab, maybe the graduate student can write you the letter, or the professor that's working with you can write you the letter. So the nursing school I went to didn't, as far as I remember, we didn't have to submit recommendation letters, so I didn't have to do that, but make sure you get those well in advance, and also because they need time to write it, but also so that you can make sure that these people really truly know you. My fourth tip is to make sure you write a personal statement that is authentic and not made up, because a lot of people will tend to fake things when it comes to applying to nursing school, and they'll write like, they'll make up a story about how someone was sick in their family or they were in the hospital and that's why they got inspired to become a nurse. But let's be honest, that's not the truth, and not every single person necessarily has to go through something like that to be inspired to become a nurse. For me, like, I went to college thinking I was going to be pre-med, and it took me almost failing OChem to get pushed to explore other healthcare options because I genuinely didn't know any other healthcare careers. And once I was able to figure out what nursing was and open my eyes to it, I absolutely fell in love with it and do not regret my decision at all to become a nurse. So if I had to have written a personal statement, I would have talked about how I struggled and I was confused and I genuinely didn't know what I wanted to do, but talk about the journey of how I figured out nursing was the perfect fit for me. So make sure that your personal statements are real, authentic, unique. Just don't make things up and don't write cliche things that anyone else would think of writing. My fifth tip would be, if you can, get CNA certified or get a medical assistant certification, because with those certifications you can literally work in the hospital, rehab facilities, nursing homes, doctors' offices, and the nursing schools love to see that you actually have worked in these healthcare areas and you've actually seen nurses working and you 100% understand what the role of a nurse is, because there is a lot of people who will go into it for the money and things like that, and they just want to make sure that every student that they're accepting is really 100% dedicated to becoming a nurse. So definitely try and get those certifications. And I remember I got CNA certified, and I started nursing school January 2016. I got CNA certified like in June or July of 2015, and I got my first CNA job by like August, and I started in the burn ICU. I mean, you would never imagine that, you know, as a CNA, I could, as my first CNA job, I got a job in the burn ICU. So I got in the burn ICU, then I worked in float pool, and that was amazing because I learned so much about different areas of the hospital, and that's what inspired me to become a NICU nurse. So definitely get those certifications. They really make you stand out on your application. Okay, so moving right along. For my sixth tip, if you just happen to not have the time to work as a CNA, even if you do have the certification, then at least try to volunteer in the hospital, because again, that shows them that you've at least been in the healthcare setting and you have at least seen a nurse doing something, or maybe, you know, walked by a nurse doing something. So to a certain extent, you understand what a nurse does. But aside from working or volunteering in the hospital, you can also volunteer like anywhere in the community that you're actually passionate about. I think it's important to tell nursing schools and show them that you are caring and passionate about serving people. You obviously don't want to just do it for the hours and just to show that, but that's why you want to pick something that you're actually passionate about. That's why I volunteered for Big Brother, Big Sister, along with like volunteering in the hospital, because I got to mentor this girl one-on-one for like 6 or 8 months or something, and like it was an amazing experience, and I was able to talk about it and really talk about how mentoring this girl like was really important to me, and like I could literally dedicate my time to just volunteering and helping that girl out. And that showed them that if I were to become a nurse, then I would do the same things for my patient as I did for this girl. So definitely make sure you volunteer. My seventh tip is to make sure you join a pre-nursing organization on your campus. They will often host a lot of like networking events. They'll have nursing students come talk about their process of applying to nursing school, how nursing school is structured. So it's a really great way to get more insight into life as a nursing student. Great way to network with nurses, that they'll bring instructors from the nursing school, plus meeting friends who may potentially be your nursing school classmates. I was in a pre-nursing organization, and I remember just being a part of it. I got like discounts on like so many books and supplies before I started nursing school, because people in that organization were like selling their old stuff if they were about to start nursing school or they were just about to graduate. So definitely make sure you join a pre-nursing organization if you can while you're on campus. Okay, so my eighth tip is make sure you apply to at least 2 different nursing programs. A lot of people, including myself, I put all my eggs into one basket. Now, I got lucky and I got accepted into the one nursing program I applied to on my first try, but I know of a lot of people who did that and they didn't get accepted on their first try, and then they were freaking out because it just made them lose motivation. It, decreased their confidence because they were just like, well, maybe I'm not a good person to be a nurse and things like that. And so sometimes it's not necessarily about you, it's just sometimes there's people that have more things that stand out on the application, or the admissions committee just seemed to relate to someone else better, and that's why they got chosen over you. So that's why I apply to at least 2 to 3, because maybe that one nursing school you didn't think would be interested in you does like you, and they decide to accept you instead. You never know. So make sure you apply to at least 2 to 3 different nursing schools, because you never know what can happen, and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and then things not work out, and that becomes a huge issue for you. My 9th tip. This is important because I don't think a lot of people think about this as much. Like, they're more concerned about like, oh, my GPA and things like that. Practice interview questions if you have an interview for your program, because you'll walk in, like, you'll be so excited about just getting an interview, you won't really think about, oh, how am I going to answer questions in an interview? And then you get to the interview and then they've got like a serious face and they're just like, why do you want to be a nurse? I kid you not, my nursing interview, and I remember because she is like one of the head people in the nursing program, and she had a straight face, no reactions, nothing, just asked questions, and it freaked me out and it intimidated me. And I mean, I think you can't predict how everyone's going to be in interviews, as far as the people that are asking you questions. So you want to at least be confident in what you want to talk about. If you are struggling with interview, I do offer interview coaching sessions. So I'll link that below in the description box so that you can click on it and book a session with me, because I know interviews so well. I got professionally coached. So if you really want the help, make sure you book a session with me, and I actually have a pre-nursing package, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this video, but I do also offer interview coaching, so make sure to check that out. My 10th tip is make sure you submit all the application materials early. You do not want to apply on the last day and then they email you saying, you forgot to submit this, but the application period has closed, so you are no longer able to apply. Well, that's going to be really bad. So apply early, because at least someone's going to start looking over your application, and maybe they will decide early on that they want to accept you. And B, if you did forget something, then they can contact you and you'll have enough time to figure out how to submit that extra material or whatever. If it was incorrect or if you needed to add something to the application, you have enough time to do that before the application closes. So definitely make sure you submit all your materials early on. So those are my top 10 tips. Now I do have a bonus 11th tip that I want to talk about, and that is to consider booking a session with me if you're a pre-nursing student. I offer a pre-nursing student package, and I'll link that in the description box below, where we literally are going to figure out what nursing schools to apply to, or if you already know that, we'll look over the application materials you need. I send you a checklist so you can stay on track. You can also work with me to get interview tips. I'll help you on editing your personal statement, your resume, making sure you're submitting things on time, and really diving in one-on-one to customize a way to make your application stand out. So if you really need help and you want to get into nursing school on your first try, consider working with me. It's a 3-session package, so I will link that in the description box below. I do like to be transparent about prices. I'm not the person that's going to charge you a ton of money. The pre-nursing student package is $25 for 2 sessions, so very good deal for all the things that I'm offering. And once you are my client, you are my client forever. So just because our sessions are over doesn't mean you can't email me for questions and things like that. So if that's something you're interested in. And I also do offer interview coaching, so if you need help with just strictly interview, it's a 3-session package, $30, and we do mock interviews. I teach you specific tips, and we really figure out ways to answer questions specifically based on your like experiences and things that you would want to talk about in your interview. So I'm going to link all of that down in my description box below. Thank you for joining me on my first ever YouTube video. I'm gonna try and figure this out day by day. And again, if you want more like day-to-day content, make sure to follow my Instagram page at Nurse Mayura. And I will also link that down in the description box below, because on my Instagram I'm always posting things every single day on my story and things like that. Versus YouTube, I'm still just in the preliminary. Anyways, if you want more content, day-to-day content, updates about my nursing experiences and things like that, then be sure to follow my Instagram page. I'll put that in the description box. And make sure to subscribe to my channel. Comment below if you want me to make videos on something specific, or if you have a question, things like that. I will try and respond to your comment. But you can always DM me as well on Instagram. So thank you very much, and I will make another video soon. Thank you.